You know, it's really funny. I don't know if you guys have this. This has nothing to do with what the video is about today, but sometimes I choose the thumbnails for, like, I get dressed and I like do my hair, sort of. I like blow dry it, put glasses on, whatever. These videos, I do not think about my appearance very much. I'm usually thinking about like what I'm gonna wear on my beauty channel. Like it's not part of this channel at all, which I think is like good. I think it's good, but sometimes I pick the thumbnails for these videos, and I'm like, I have moments where I'm like, wait, do I want people to see me like this? Like this, is this the image that I want to like put on the internet? Because I kind of forget that I'm literally putting it on YouTube where anyone can watch it, you know? Sorry, I'm just making sure my mic is on. I literally forget, and then I look at how I look, and then I kind of try to like remove myself from me and see like what are people's insinuations, first impressions maybe of me from this thumbnail, you know, like are people, what are their assumptions, I guess, just by looking at me, and is it going to prevent people from clicking on the video? Because I actually think that maybe we should just fucking make the video about this, because I actually think that I, on the outside, portray something that I'm not necessarily. And it's just always a reminder to me to be like, outside appearances really don't tell you shit about like who a person is. I've had some mediums, like, or like, who are the people who do like tarot cards, like that kind of thing. I've been to like some events. We're making the video about this. Okay. I've been to some events where they've like had people who come and do that kind of thing. I was just talking to Sarah, the girl who does my hair color, about this recently. She believes in like mediums, and she believes that there are people who have like a deeper connection to like, I guess what you could refer to as the spirit world, or just like, I don't know, energy, whatever, however you want to interpret it. I am much more skeptical in that sense. It's not something that I like believe in necessarily. Regardless, I'm not condemning it. I'm just saying that like when I went to like some events, they usually like hired some people who, in my opinion, are not legit, because I've had experiences where I can tell that what they're doing is looking at me, my outward appearance, and trying to size me up, and then just kind of like trying to play into those things and talk to me as if they know who I am based on my outward appearance. And I can just tell that that's what's happening a lot of the time. I'm sure there are plenty of people who people think are legit. I'm just saying these people who I've come into contact with definitely haven't been. But anyway, I don't know. I guess I just like, once again, this was not the point of this video. I actually have something in my notebook that I was going to sit down and talk to you about. But I just looked at myself in the monitor, and, you know, I've got short hair. I can look very androgynous a lot of the time. I have many times on my beauty channel when I don't have makeup on, I've had a lot of people ask me if I'm trans, ask me if I'm male or female, all kinds of things, especially since I have like a pretty low register voice. It's not like feminine, whatever that means. I'm definitely wearing Jeffrey Dahmer glasses right now. You know what I mean? Like, up until the point that I got my other piercings, I wasn't really wearing jewelry. Then now I go hard on the jewelry, not that this video is evidence of that. But it's interesting to put myself in others, try to remove myself from like what I see or how I just think about myself, and think about how I'm perceived. It's interesting. I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it's something that people should spend time doing. We do that enough. Social media makes us do it too much, just photos in general. But you know what? I was recently talking to some friends this was like months ago now, but we were doing like a FaceTime Zoom type thing. And I think I wrote it down somewhere, but now I don't know where the sticky note went. But my friend made a comment about like, why are we so obsessed with how other people see us? We were just talking about that. Like, why are we so obsessed with like our self-image, whatever it is that we're portraying, whatever we're putting out there? And she said that it's impossible for us to actually see ourselves the way other people do. And so we're kind of obsessed with that. Like, we're very fascinated by it. And we want to get some glimpse of how people see us. because it is interesting. Like I don't think that we really will ever understand how other people see us visually, and how they feel about us, like emotionally, all of those things. Like I can never truly know like exactly how my boyfriend feels about me. I can never like be him and put myself in his body and brain and like feel that, you know? So you kind of just have to like take him at his word. I think he likes me. You know what I mean? But it was just, it was that like, that sentence that she said, just those few words that like, we want a glimpse of, or like other people's perceptions of us is a glimpse into like what we actually give off, I guess, which was really interesting to me. And just to tie it back to like me looking at these thumbnails, like for instance, I don't wear makeup, right? For this channel. I don't have a particularly girly way of speaking. I think a lot of my interests and like I fucking love makeup and fashion. Fucking love it. But like I'm also, you know, I was a tomboy when I was growing up. Most of my friends were guys. That's kind of how I communicate in what is considered to be a more masculine way, which I think is just kind of like something that we're sort of letting go of, which I think is good, because who was I fucking listening to? I was listening to, I don't know if you guys know Little Esther and Kalila and comedian Annie Letterman. They started a podcast together and they were discussing, I think it was Esther, I think it was the first episode, and she was saying that like all her life she'd been told that like the way girls communicate is not like being gross or like ripping on each other. And her reaction to that was like, what are you talking about? That's all I do with my friends. And that's how I feel. Like if I make a new friend, if I meet a new person, I'm not the like, oh my God, you look so cute. Let's talk about where we buy our shoes. Like that's not something that I'm interested in doing. It's like more the way that I'm going to bond with you is like talking shit, which I guess is more, just more widely accepted among like male friends. Like I feel like that's how a lot of like guys, you know, not right off the bat, but I feel like guys are like, I listen to my boyfriend play his video games and like, you know, they have like nice, their conversations range from like pleasant, normal, whatever, like when they're meeting somebody for the first time, to, you know, they talk about politics, they talk about sports, they talk about like relationships, but they also like give each other shit and like push each other around and like push each other's buttons, and there's like joking and sometimes they fight, and like that's how I relate, and I feel like that's just a human thing. And I've been in situations where I am with like girls for the first time, and it stays very surface level, and sometimes people are very like turned off or don't really know how to connect with me when I try to like go deeper, or I don't know, to kind of venture, you know? Maybe it's more my industry. I can't really tell. Like when I go to these makeup events, this conversation is really evolving. When I go to these makeup events, and you know, it's a difficult thing because it's like a work event where you, for like a lot of the time, you know, you see people, you know them on the internet, you comment on each other's photos, and you don't always have the opportunity with everyone to get to substance. So a lot of the time when you run into each other at events, it's very much like, oh my God, you look great. I haven't seen you in so long, blah, blah, blah. Like, what's up? Blah, 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 whatever. You know what I mean? It's that kind of like, it has to stay surface level because you never really like, there are some people that you just, either you don't have the opportunity or maybe you're not interested in like getting to the nitty gritty, you know? So I'm like, maybe it's my industry because of course like makeup and beauty and all that shit is very, superficial. So it probably encourages that kind of surface level. But I often feel that like, I think this is my own fucked up shit for sure. It's like a combination of a lot of things. But I often feel a little bit more comfortable meeting a guy for the first time and being able to talk just the way that I would talk. And sometimes when I'm meeting women for the first time, I immediately feel like I'm not going to be able to connect because I know that I've been in a lot of situations with women who are kind of turned off or like by the way that I communicate, I guess. I've brought this up before, and I got a lot of people basically calling me a misogynist on my beauty channel. It was just like a Q&A video, and I was talking about how like I have a hard time connecting with other women. Now, I've mentioned a few times, there are plenty of things in my past that I'm not going to be discussing, but I can point to, and that a therapist would be very interested in, to say like, okay, these are connections. This is kind of like why I interpret things a certain way, or why I like react a certain way in certain, you know, social situations, whatever. So like there are some things that I can point to that are like, that makes sense, and I have to like work on them. But that doesn't really negate the fact that like I still feel uncomfortable in those situations. I definitely don't think that I wouldn't consider myself to be a misogynist. You know, like I'm a woman and I'm all for the girls. You know what I mean? But yeah, sorry, that memory just kind of like threw me off. What were we talking about? Well, I've mentioned this book by my friend Amanda called Word Slut, where she talks about the evolution of speech, particularly how it connects to like gendered language, basically. Its evolution and in every aspect. It's a lot. The book covers so much, so it's like impossible to just kind of like sum it up. But one of the things, and I think I've mentioned this in a previous video, maybe it was the video where I was talking about like women's expectations in society. Can't remember now. She talks about how women and men communicate differently, and kind of how it's been like, it's a slow process to get to a point where like a certain person or group of people is expected to communicate a certain way, right? It's not like something that happens overnight. It's not like you're born and that just happens. It's like a societal social cues that sort of like bring us to that point, and that's and where we are sort of in, which I think is sort of like it's being undone slowly, but where we are is very much that like women are, you know, seen as like more polite, more agreeable, and men are more like informational and not afraid of conflict, I think. That's kind of like, and I'm just referencing these very, very lightly, obviously. I don't have the book with me right now, but actually I would like to dedicate a whole fucking video. Literally, I could do probably like 3 hours just talking about like what I've read in the book so far. Wow, derailed so easily. Basically, when I was reading that book, I related to that a lot, because I was like, yeah, I feel like the way that I communicate ends up being interpreted as what we consider to be more masculine. My sense of humor, all that kind of stuff, you know? Where does that, I don't know. It's just like, where does that fit in? I've never had any problems with, I have had like a lot of people ask me like, what are your pronouns and like shit like that. And like, I'm female, and she and her is totally fine with me. But I've never had like a problem with like my identity, you know? Like I feel pretty comfortable in my own skin. This isn't really going anywhere. Anyway, my point is that like looking at myself right now in the monitor, I feel like if I were an outsider, I could make a lot of assumptions about who I am, what I'm into, my opinions, who I'm attracted to, all these things. And they wouldn't be, you know, for the most part, correct. So making assumptions are so stupid. And that's literally all I have to say about that. I look at thumbnails a lot of the time, and I just think like, no one's gonna click on this because I look like I'm just gonna complain about something. Like I don't look approachable. I don't know. You guys should let me know what you think about that. But anyway, have you had moments like that where you try to like remove yourself from yourself, and like you look at a photo of yourself? This isn't like a healthy thing to do, I don't think, because then you probably start to like obsess about it, and then you start to worry about like what image you're putting off. I literally, you know, when you have like daydreams in your head of like situations that will probably never happen, those are the fucking best, huh? I had like I don't even want to call it a daydream. I had like a vision of me. So my parents moved to Florida recently, and there's a lot of like old people basically like where they live. And I had like a fantasy, I don't want to call it that. I had like a daydream basically about going there and being confronted with some conservative old person asking me why my hair is blue or something, you know, because I've been in situations like that where you do something, you wear something, your makeup is a certain way, your clothes are a certain way, whatever, or life decisions. This fucking guy on a plane one time. Anyway, where they question it. And I was thinking about like what my response would be. I've been thinking a lot about like how to respond to people because it's one of my favorite things. I don't know if you guys are subscribed to my beauty channel or if you follow me on Instagram, but one of my favorite things to do is respond either sarcastically or I would just say entertainingly to negative comments. I have like a little story highlight on my Instagram where I share them because they amuse me. And some of the things that just people say are hilarious. And my responses are honestly just to amuse me, but I don't know why I brought this up. I think we have to kind of like accept that like people are always going to judge you. You know, there's always going, not that people will always judge you, but there will always be people who judge you based on your appearance, based on like one-liners that you've said, based on basically nothing. And you kind of just have to like learn, I think we've covered this before, but I think you kind of just have to like learn how to live with that, how to deal with it in a way that doesn't like drive you crazy. And for me, with like really just ridiculous YouTube comments, it's been responding with like little quips, little sarcastic comments that amuse me because it makes me feel like, I don't know, it just is funny. I don't even know why I brought that up. What a rant. Holy shit. Not a rant, just a ramble. Literally random stream of consciousness. One time I was on a plane. So I was in school and I went to school for painting. So I'm getting a fine art degree. Okay. So I'm on a plane and this guy is like so annoying, dude. When I'm on planes, don't talk to me. We're on a 36-minute flight. Okay. I'm not interested. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. I don't want to make conversation. Let's just sit here. Let me listen to my music. We'll get off the plane. We'll go our separate ways. I'm not going to talk to you again. Whatever. Maybe that's closed-minded. This guy, like a business suit, starts making conversation with me. And I'm like, oh, we're doing this now. So he starts asking me like, oh, where are you headed? And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, that's fucking great. So I'm responding, like being polite. And then he asked me, I said I was in school. He said, like, are you traveling for work or whatever? And I said, I'm in school. And then he was like, oh, what are you in school for? And I told him that I was getting my BFA in painting. And he literally said to me, what are you going to do with that? And I was like, die. I was so pissed. And I remember after that, I was just like, and I didn't have a good response. I like didn't have the confidence that I have in myself now as like a college student. So I was like trying to not plead with him, but I was trying to like be nice, but also like explain myself. You know, I was like, well, there's actually like a lot of things that you can do with an art degree, blah, 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 blah. And like went down all these like things. But inside I was like, I want to kill you. You're a piece of shit. Why are you talking to me? I didn't want to talk to you. So that's just like an example. And there's always going to be dicks like that. Like there's always going to be people who do stupid shit like that to you or say stupid things like that. And I don't think we should let them get away with it. So I think that we should all work on our sarcastic responses together. Maybe I should make a class and we can like brainstorm together. It's a really fucking good idea. This was random. I guess I'll go now. Great talk.